Hello, and welcome back to Aaron International Airport, station code AOA. With it officially being spooky season now, it is officially October 2nd. That means that it is time for scary movies to thrive. And when you think of scary movies, you think of your movies like Sinister, or The Conjuring, or, the OGs, the Halloween. Not Halloween Kills, because that movie is awful, the original ones, or even the first of like the newer ones. Anyway, I'm not going to get on the tirade. Or maybe that scene from Insidious where the devil thing pops up behind what's his name and scared the absolute shit out of me as a sixth grader and kind of scarred me for a little bit. But what is that other genre that we don't really think of very often? That, my friends, is the found footage genre. In this genre, you can find your things like Paranormal Activity, or The Taking of Deborah Logan, or other things of that nature. But today I bring to you a new-ish found footage movie. I've kind of been sitting on this for a little bit because I kind of wanted to wait until it was October to have more of a reason to talk about this movie. Because the last time I watched a horror movie, it was in like the middle of April, which was it felt just kind of out of place. That was Talk to Me, which, shameless plug, you can go watch that video right here. So, like I said, now that it's officially spooky season, I bring to you today a new-ish found footage movie called Milk and Cereal. Now, this is not a horror movie about Frosted Flakes or Fruit Loops or your favorite cereal, minus Fruity Pebbles, whatever yours may be. This is a movie written and directed, produced by, everything by two guys named Curry Barker and Cooper Tomlinson. These guys, I've discovered them on Instagram. They usually do like short little comedy skits that I think are pretty funny. I enjoy them, but I also didn't know that they had an interest in directing and writing and producing and all that kind of stuff. So I really didn't know what to expect going into this. It's sort of in my brain, untread. What is the word? What is the phrase? Untread. No, I'm an idiot. New terrain, we'll call it. This movie, actually, I did enjoy this movie quite a bit. It's not on a streaming service. It's actually on YouTube. You can just go watch it for free. It's only an hour long. So yeah, it's not hard to find at all. Just Milk and Cereal, not cereal like the food, cereal like serial killer. Okay, also, spoilers ahead. I will be spoiling it if you haven't seen it. As usual, because we don't do that no spoiler thing around here. Unless it was the Deadpool and Wolverine video. Another shameless plug. All right, so the movie starts off. Milk, the two main characters are Milk and Seven. Milk, apparently he just loves milk for some reason. I don't know what that's all about. Seven is called Seven because later in the movie he explains that his real name is Steve, but his dad's name was Steve, his grandfather's name was Steve, so on and so forth, and he is the seventh Steve. So everybody just calls him Seven. Even though that sounds like Millie Bobby Brown's cousin from Stranger Things. Or was it that one episode? Was it that one episode where she meets the other superhero girl that like they totally just like denied almost that it existed? That episode wasn't that number 7, or was it like 10? I don't. Anyway, Milk and Seven have a YouTube channel where it's a pretty like cheesy stereotypical like prank channel. They do pranks on each other, on their friends, and it's just that's just what their thing is. And they apparently have like some kind of reasonable following, and so it sort of becomes one of those things of like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, like what's real and what's not. And the movie starts out, it's Milk's birthday, so they're planning a party with like all their friends and everything. And Seven has a plan to prank Milk by inviting someone that is in, I think he says in his acting class or something, but Milk does not know him. So to Milk, this is just some random person that he has invited to his birthday party. Seven documents the whole thing, obviously because that's their whole shtick is like they're prank vlogger dudes. And so the guy gets there. Milk and Seven are up in like upstairs in one of their rooms, and Milk is saying how he doesn't like that he invited this guy. They hear screaming downstairs. They go downstairs, and the guy has all the friends at gunpoint. He shoots one of the girls, and then everybody starts laughing and singing happy birthday, and then it's like a whole thing of like, oh, it was just a prank. So after all this goes down, they party for a little bit, and then they get a knock at the door. That is the landlord that has showed up, and this is like the first like creepy instance of the movie. The landlord is standing in the door, and the way that they use, like the way that the camera is, it's blurry, so all you can really see is the silhouette of him. And he just says, I have kids that have to be up really creepily. He says, I have kids that have to be up early for school. You're being too loud. They say, okay, sorry, my bad. The dude comes into the house, into their apartment, walks around, does this really weird laugh, and then just walks out and leaves. And Milk thinks it's just another prank or something, and they are trying to assure him that it's not. The next morning, Seven wakes up and goes downstairs, and there's this strange guy sitting on their couch that they don't know. He goes upstairs, he wakes Milk up, and he's like, dude, there's a guy out on the couch. This is super weird. Go down there and figure it out, please. The guy then starts talking to himself. He takes the prop gun from the night before and attempts to put himself to forever sleep. Milk and Seven are able to stop him, and the guy starts talking about all this crazy, like, there's a little girl in my head, and like she won't stop talking, and like just craziness. So just a little side plot, because this will come back into the story later. Naomi, who is one of the friends of Milk and Seven, brought a girl to the birthday party. They were dating, they were an item, and the next morning she says that broke it up with her, and it was via text. So it was like not even like tasteful or anything. She broke up with her over text. Like, that sucks. I don't recommend doing that. I say that because that will eventually make its way back into the movie. So they decide to go over and meet up with the strange man that was sitting on their couch and have a glass of wine. And this is where we learn about why Seven is called Seven. And the guy gives this really creepy story about wine and like why he doesn't like wine and this and that. And then Milk and Seven both pass out, and they wake up in the back of a car, tied up with bags over their heads. No clue where they're going, what's going on, anything. They get to somewhere in a desert. The guy takes the bags off and has them at gunpoint and tells them, basically, the two of you pick which one of you is gonna die. He's like losing his mind, he's crazy, whatever. So Seven jumps up, shoots him, and then, of course, understandably, goes into panic mode because he just shot a guy. This is when it is revealed this was a prank. And so once Seven kind of comes down from that super crazy adrenaline high that he had because he thought that he just shot and killed a man, Milk reveals to him that he was an actor, that he hired him. It was all just this big elaborate prank. And so they kind of have a chuckle about it, but the guy, whose name is Greg, is still on the ground. He has not moved. He's laying there with blood on him. So they go from like, haha, it was a good prank, to like, why isn't he moving? Like, was he good? What is he doing? With that happening, they now are in the desert with a guy that they accidentally just killed. And so now they're going into like cover-up mode, where they're talking about burying the body and like getting shovels and like this and that. And it's just a out of control situation. Oh man. So at this point, it cuts to 2 days before the birthday party. Milk is in his room. He's recording himself, sort of like a talking head kind of thing. And he said he's been up for 3 days trying to come up with the perfect prank to prank Seven. So now we know that it's a prank. It goes back and it shows Milk approaching the guy, going through the plan of, I want you to do this. I want you to act super crazy and, yada, yada. Then the guy who he hired, Milk told him that he wanted him to drug them, basically. He said, I'm not doing that. Number one, I'm not drugging you, and I don't want cameras around. Which, I mean, honesty, I mean, it's a really messed up prank, but like that kind of defeats the purpose of the prank if it's not on camera though, right? If that's like your whole thing. Anyway, at this point, the pranks are getting like out of control. Like the whole bag over the head drugging thing in the desert at gunpoint, that's a bit extreme, even for somebody that's been doing pranks as long as like Ross Creations or something. It's a bit extreme, just a touch. But the guy who he had hired lives with his son. And they seemed like they were just, a couple of a father and a son living together, his full grown son and everything. He was an older gentleman. They lived together. And so, again, that will come back into the movie later on. So, now it cuts to Milk. He's sitting in his car talking to the camera yet again. He calls Laura, the girl who had dumped his friend Naomi, via text, and says that she left her jacket at their house, which he says that he kept it there. He hid it on purpose. He says, like, yeah, I'll just swing by, bring it by. And she says, oh, no, it's fine. Like, I'll get it in the morning or tomorrow after work or whatever. And he's like, no, like, we're bar hopping. Like, I'll just bring it to you. And, like, Naomi's with me. And she reluctantly says, okay, fine. So he goes to her house. And in between these cuts, like, when we see these sort of talking head bits of Milk, you can see he's, like, not all the way there. He is losing it, like, 100%. He's not sane whatsoever. So he goes over, and Laura says, where is Naomi? I thought you said Naomi was here. And he says, oh, she's in the car, and your jacket's in there, too. So she goes over to the car. He chokes her out and kidnaps her, basically. Throws her in the back of a car and takes her somewhere else. So then it cuts to Pryor. And it's the guy that they had hired, or that Milk had hired. Sorry, there's this sunspot that is bouncing right off of my monitor base here, and it is actually going to make me go blind. Okay. I think we're good now. Ah, yes. I'm not staring into the sun anymore. But it cuts to, again, from more so Milk's point of view of him talking to the guy that was sitting on the couch, and Seven goes upstairs for a minute, and he has a moment where he's like, dude, like, you're doing so well. Like, where did that little girl thing come from? Like, that was so good. Like, you're killing it, dude. Like, you're awesome. And it just kind of gives you, a different side of things than we just saw. So, while they're in the desert, they now have devised a plan. Milk says, okay, we have to bury him, and we just forget about this and move on like nothing ever happened, which is crazy, but it just might work. So they go to Home Depot. Seven runs in to grab a shovel and like a couple of other things, for when you bury a dead body, all those items that you need. And as Milk is sitting in the car in the parking lot, sort of like halfway having a panic attack, but at the same time also weirdly excited for everything, he gets approached by a cop. He apparently parked illegally or in a handicap spot or something, and so he starts freaking out because the cop is walking towards him. And as he's talking to the cop, as the cop is writing up his ticket or warning or whatever, Seven comes out, starts walking out with the shovel and everything, and Milk flags him back in. He's like, go back in, they're po. And so luckily they dodged that bullet. So now it cuts back to them. They are actively digging the hole in the desert. Also, Seven is having like an existential crisis about this whole thing, understandably. Now we're back to another shot where it's Milk talking to the camera, sort of getting kind of deep with his feelings. And he says that Seven locked him out of the YouTube channel. He can't even get into the YouTube channel. He says that Seven is everybody's favorite, and that he's the one that everybody likes, and he's like the more popular one, and it just is sort of jealous. He says that Seven tells him that his skits and his pranks or whatever aren't funny, and he's coming from a very dark place of malicious intent at this point, obviously. Seven is sitting at this point in his room, just staring into an abyss that is the wall, just sort of in disbelief of everything that had happened the night before. Milk is recording him, trying to talk to him, and he tells Seven that he told their two friends, Naomi and Lincoln, about this prank with this guy that he hired. Seven naturally freaks out because they just killed that guy by accident. And so now there's just like a couple of more people that know, which is a problem if you're them, if you don't want anyone knowing that you just accidentally killed a guy. Then it cuts to Milk in this shed somewhere else where he is keeping Laura hostage, pretty much. He has not given her food or water in 3 days. She's very weak. So he has this like clear mask, and there is this one little part in this that I like. It kind of made me chuckle because I just thought it was like kind of funny. He is sitting there talking to her. Milk is, and he's got this clear mask on that looks like something you would just get at like Party City or something. And he just sort of has like this to himself kind of monologue, and it was I just thought it was kind of funny because he talks about how since he has blonde hair, you can't really see his eyebrows, but with the mask on, you can see his eyebrows. And something about it was just kind of funny to me. But at this point, Seven says he quits the YouTube channel. Seven starts to sort of catch on that Milk has sort of orchestrated this whole thing against him. He starts to kind of put the pieces together. Early, like in the beginning of the movie, he couldn't find his wallet. Milk or whoever said, "Oh, I thought it was on the coffee table," and it wasn't. But he later finds his wallet in a pair of Milk's pants. Some of Seven's other pants. I'm not totally sure. It was pants, I'm pretty sure, though. Seven calls Milk and says that he got a text from Greg's phone, and it said, "I know I'm dead." Seven, again, starts freaking out because Greg is dead. Dead Greg. Milk comes home and he says, "I know it was right here. Like, I know I have it. It was just here. It disappeared. Where could it have gone?" And Seven seriously feels like he is absolutely losing his marbles at this point. As anyone would, when you've got someone just basically orchestrating this super unnecessarily elaborate prank on you that has already gone too far, number one, and now you just feel like you're losing your mind. Yeah, I can understand. I think anyone can understand where Seven is coming from in this situation. So later on, they get another knock at the door, and this time it's Frank. That is Greg's son, the guy, his adult son, who the actor lived with. He said that he's called his dad like 20 times, and it rings a few times, and then the call ends. And he's just worried about him, and he wants to figure out where he's at. And so, they say like, "Oh, and because they think that he's there because he's figured it out. But he just says, "Hey, if you guys see him, like, let me know. I'm not trying to do this prank BS with you. I just want to know where my dad is and make sure he's okay." They go and they meet up with Frank at his place. And it just dawns on him, "Oh, that's right, he said he was going to Vegas. How could I have forgotten? Silly me." And of course, Milk and Seven are like, "Okay, that works." And so they basically just elect to send him one more text from Greg's phone saying, "I'm okay, everything's okay," bury the phone, and be done with it. So now they have to figure out what to do with Frank, the son, because he, in a way, I don't think he really knows it necessarily, but he is on to them somehow, some way. But Milk says, "We're going to have to kill him. That's it. We're just going to have to kill him." And that is because Frank comes back later and says, "Yeah, so I used the, Find My Phone app, and it's linking back to your apartment." And again, he says, "I'm not doing this prank stuff. Like, where's my dad? Like, what is going on?" And they said, "Oh, he was just here, like a little bit ago," which was really stupid. But, of course, Frank freaks out. Like, "Why didn't you tell me? Like, what is going on? Please explain what is happening to me because I don't know where my dad is and it's sketching me out." So that's why Milk says, "We're going to have to kill him." Seven, of course, doesn't want to do that, but Milk, being the truly crazy one here, they don't really see another choice. Then it cuts to Milk again recording himself, and he's just naming serial killers. Like all the main ones that you've heard of, he's naming them and talking about the things that they did and, what they're known for, and it's creepy. So at this point, Lincoln and Naomi, two of the friends, have figured out that something weird is going on, that they're acting that Milk and Seven are acting kind of funky, and so they take it upon themselves that they are going to go over and investigate and try to figure out what it is. So they go over. They basically, I don't know if they broke in or if they have like a key or something, but they're in Milk and Seven's apartment, and they find the real gun that was supposed to have blanks in it for the first prank at the beginning of the movie where Naomi got fake shot, and finds that the blanks were exchanged for real bullets. They find like the poison. They find a few other things. They find these little like little tiny glass bottle things with different names on them. I'm guessing that was some kind of like poison or something, poison or drug to like, knock somebody out, something like that. So now that Milk and Seven have devised a plan to go and kill Frank, they basically send Seven in with like spy glasses on for some reason, and Milk is watching from behind a computer, waiting basically for his cue. So they invite Frank over. He says, where is he? Where's my dad? Like, what's the deal? And he immediately, like, as soon as he opens the door, he knows that Seven is wearing spy glasses. He's like, yeah, I can see the camera. It's right there. Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm not doing this prank stuff anymore, dude. Like, just where's my dad? So Seven, like, nervously trying to lure him to the bathroom because they had established that it would be a lot easier to clean up blood off, out of the bathroom than it would be off carpet or like the living room or something. So he says, oh, he's like in the bathroom. It's just like, it's like that thing, like when you're young and you and like a sibling are trying to lie to your parents, but the other sibling is really bad at lying. The lie starts and then you just have to wing it because like they can't close like that. That's basically what's happening. And he says, oh, he's in the tub over there. And he's like, dude, like quit dicking around. Like open the curtain. Like, where's my dad? Seven opens it. He's not, of course, the guy isn't there. Seven comes in and just yagas him right in the neck. He bleeds out, dies right there. So now they have to clean it up. After the murder, while Naomi and Lincoln are snooping around their apartment, they hear the door open, and Milk had come back for some reason to throw something out or something pertaining to the murder. And so they kind of run into each other, and they're both like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, it's super weird. We're not doing anything. Like, what are you doing? And it was just like it's that weird like interaction. So after the killing, Milk is fully in the mode of, we have to clean this up. We have to get rid of this body, post-murder shenanigans. Seven is just sitting in the tub, and he says, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, he says, just kill me, turn me in, kill me, do something. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. It's over. Screw this. So while Naomi and Lincoln were snooping around, they find an address to another place. This place happens to be the shed where Milk is keeping Laura and has been holding her there, starving her, no food, no water for at least like 4 days, I think, at this point. And so they pull up to the shed. They go in, they find her, they find all these other, these jars with like ears and like a brain and all this other creepy stuff. And then finally, one of the last cuts is Milk recording himself again. And he basically is saying to the camera that although he didn't intentionally mean to do it, the whole plan all along was to kill Seven, which, because Frank got in the way, that would actually make Seven his 7th kill, and he refers to it as serial art, and, just weird, just like a weird way of thinking about it. Then he goes on like this little tirade in his mask to the camera, and he turns around, and Seven has the gun pointed at him, and shoots him, and then he puts himself to forever sleep, and then Canoe Street by Saber Jackson kicks in, and it cuts to the credits, and it says, from the mind of Curry Barker. So that was the play-by-play. I'm just going to give some final thoughts, just a couple of pros and a couple of cons, some things that I appreciated, some things that I didn't think were that great. I'll start off with the bad stuff. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Sometimes there's a few times that I thought the writing was a little weak. Which, I mean, I'm not a writer. I'm not a director. You don't ask me to do that. I might have an English communication and media degree, but that doesn't mean I can do it well. But there was times that the writing, it just seemed a little exaggerated. There was also times where, mostly by Seven, played by Cooper Tomlinson, nothing against him, and I understand the overacting, but it was just like a little overcooked. The acting was just like a little overcooked. That's really all I can complain about. I mean, other than that, those were just a couple of like little nitpicky things that I just picked up on. But things that I did like, number one, it's on YouTube. You don't have to have any certain streaming service for it. It's free. It's only an hour long. It's like, I think it's like an hour and 2 minutes or something. So it's not like, you know, you're spending your whole day or like a full length movie. It's almost exactly an hour long. So, I like the story. I heard, from somewhere that they made this movie with $800. I think they only paid maybe one or two actors, but everybody else in the movie is just like real life friends of theirs that are, you know, into acting, into directing and producing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, their page on Instagram is called That's a Bad Idea. They, like I said, they mostly do comedy stuff and like little skits and little bits and things like that, which I think are funny. You might not think they're funny, but I usually enjoy them. If you look them up on YouTube, if you look up like more of their short films, you'll find a couple. I watched, I think, two of them. One called The Chair and one called Warnings. So if you want to, you know, you can watch those, kind of, you know, compare and contrast the certain different types of horror. As this one, you know, as Milk and Cereal was more of like a psychological thriller kind of thing, The Chair is more of a trippy mind game thing with a chair. It's hard to explain. Just go watch it. But they do have other stuff like this, similar to this, in the horror genre, if you will. But I will say, I do think that these two guys, if they keep up with the horror thing, because we all know it's really easy to make a bad horror movie. No matter if it's an hour or 3 hours, it's really easy to look at a horror movie and make fun of it. Typically, it's cheesy, the writing is terrible, it's dumb, it's not scary, whatever. But with the whole direction with the psychological thriller and like crazy psychotic killer thing, I think that these two guys could really do something in the horror genre. There's another review by Chris Stuckman that I watched, which, by the way, if you're ever going to watch a review of a movie and you really want to get down to like the meat and potatoes of it, watch his videos. They're not very long, but he does a great job of explaining stuff sort of just like quick, fast, and in a hurry. He did a really good review of it too. Probably explained it a lot better than I did in this whole video. But yeah, so that was Milk and Cereal. Go watch it. It's on YouTube. Like I said, it's only an hour long. You've probably spent far longer than an hour doing something way less useful than watching a pretty decent movie. So highly recommend it. Go watch it. That's a Bad Idea. Check them out. Check out their Instagram. Check out their funny stuff. Check out their scary stuff. You know, check it all out. Go look at all of it. Go. This has been Aaron, International Airport, station code AOA. And thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Bye.